Ahoy, adventurers! It's so good to see you again. Last time we were together, we saw how Jesus bravely faced all those tricky temptations in the desert. He passed every test like a true superhero. Now that he's back, Jesus is ready to start his most important work, but he can't do it alone. He needs a team, a special group of friends to help him. Today's story is all about how Jesus called his very first disciples. And guess what? It's a super fishy tale, full of surprises that you won't believe. It all comes from the Bible, from the books of Luke and Matthew. Are you ready? Let's cast our nets and dive right in. Picture this. A beautiful, sunny day by the huge, sparkling Sea of Galilee. Jesus was standing by the shore, and a big crowd of people had gathered all around him. They wanted to hear everything he had to say about God's amazing love. More and more people kept coming until it was super crowded on the beach. It was getting hard for everyone to see and hear him. Jesus looked around and saw 2 empty boats pulled up on the shore. One of the boats belonged to a fisherman named Simon. You might also know him by his other name, Peter. The fishermen, including Simon, were nearby, busy washing their nets. These fishermen, Simon, his brother Andrew, and their friends James and John, looked really tired and a little bit sad. They had been out on the water all night long, working super hard, trying to catch fish. But guess how many they caught? 0! Not a single one! Can you imagine fishing all night and getting nothing? They must have been so disappointed. As they were cleaning their empty nets, Jesus walked over to Simon and had a brilliant idea. He asked, "Simon, would it be okay if I borrowed your boat for a little while? I can sit in it just off the shore and teach the people from there." Simon, being a kind person, said yes. Of course. So Jesus stepped into Simon's boat, pushed out a little from the land, and sat down. From the boat, he could talk to everyone in the crowd, and they could all hear him perfectly. Jesus taught for a while, telling wonderful stories and sharing God's wisdom. The crowd listened to every single word. When he was all finished teaching, he turned to Simon, who was still in the boat with him. Jesus looked at him with a kind smile and said, "Simon, let's go out into the deep water. Row out there and let down your nets for a catch." Simon looked a bit confused. He probably thought, "But we just tried that all night." He said to Jesus, "Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything at all." He was probably thinking it was a waste of time. But then he added, "But because you say so, I will let down the nets." He decided to trust Jesus, even though it didn't make much sense to him. So they rowed the boat out to a deeper part of the sea. With a big heave, they threw their nets into the water one more time. And then something absolutely incredible happened. Whoosh! Splash. All of a sudden, the nets became incredibly heavy. They were filled with wriggling, silvery fish. There were so many fish that the nets started to stretch and even break. Simon couldn't pull them in by himself. He shouted over to his partners, James and John, who were in the other boat nearby, "Help! Come quick! We need help." James and John quickly rowed over, and together they all started pulling in the giant catch of fish. They filled up Simon's boat, and then they filled up the other boat too. There were so many fish that both boats became super heavy and started to dip down into the water, almost sinking. Everyone's eyes were wide with amazement. They had never, ever seen anything like it. It was a true miracle. Seeing this unbelievable catch of fish, Simon Peter was completely stunned. He realized that Jesus wasn't just a good teacher. He was someone with amazing power. He was truly special. Feeling overwhelmed, Simon fell down at Jesus' knees right there in the boat. He said, "Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man." He felt like he wasn't good enough to be near someone so wonderful and powerful as Jesus. But Jesus didn't want Simon to feel bad. He reached out, helped him up, and said with a warm, reassuring voice, "Don't be afraid." Then he said something very interesting. "From now on, you will fish for people." What could that mean? Jesus meant that instead of catching fish, Simon would now help bring people to God, helping them learn about his love and follow him. It was a brand new, even more important job. When they got back to the shore, the fisherman Simon, his brother Andrew, and their friends James and John made a huge decision. They pulled their boats onto the sand. They saw the mountains of fish they had caught, enough to make them rich. But they knew they had found something much more valuable than fish or money. They had found Jesus. So they left everything behind. They left their boats, they left their nets, and they even left that gigantic, miraculous catch of fish right there on the shore. From that day on, they followed Jesus. They became his first disciples, his special team. They walked with him, learned from him, and began their incredible adventure of helping him share God's message of love with the whole world. Wow. What an adventure. Jesus used a fish miracle to show his power and to invite his new friends on the journey of a lifetime. He showed them that when you trust him, even when things seem impossible, amazing things can happen. It teaches us that when Jesus calls us to do something good, we should listen and say yes, just like Simon did. It might be a call to be kind to someone new at school, to help out at home without being asked, or to stand up for what's right. Have you ever felt that little nudge in your heart? That feeling that you should do something good for someone else? That might just be Jesus calling you. And that's the story of how Jesus started building his team. These first disciples were just the beginning. In our next story, we'll see even more of Jesus' amazing miracles and hear more of his wonderful teachings. Always remember, Jesus wants you to be on his team too. He invites you to follow him every single day by being kind, loving, and brave. Thanks for joining our story today. I can't wait to see you for our next adventure. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching. God bless you.